The camp high is over, but we want to keep the momentum going. How do we do that? That's what we're talking about today on the Ministry Coach Podcast.
Welcome to the Ministry Coach Podcast, where we bring you weekly tips and tactics to help you fast track the growth and health of your youth ministry. If you haven't already done so, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening on our podcast, make sure you subscribe there as well. My name is Jeff Lascola. This is
Kristen Lascola.
We appreciate you guys watching and listening so much. Today is all about how do you bring that camp high home and back into your ministry.
Yeah, so I am a survivor. We are back. I've been back for, what's today? Monday? We got back on Thursday? A few days.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. My brain is still a fog and I'm still recovering, but I will get there.
So what were some of the highlights of the trip this year?
Our campus pastor asked me that today, and I said, for sure my volunteer team. My intern, my team, my staff, my leaders, whatever you want to call them, they blew me away. Like they're the kind of, they're not paid to be there except for one. And just the way they work together, they saw a need and filled it. They didn't need any direction. They just knew what to do. They kept their energy up all week. They helped with everything. We do our own camp, so these things are really important. We've done a episode before on pre-package versus doing your own camp. And some of you are like, peace out, not doing my own camp. Thanks for the warning. Well, we still do. And it's an immense amount of work. And having that team around you, they killed it. Yeah. I was so impressed. We also baptized 40 kids.
Wow.
That was exciting to just watch first time decisions and kids go the next step in their faith. As always, watching kids come out of their shell, I always say summer camp is 6 months worth of, or more, of church and youth group, all just bottled into 1 week. And you just watch these relationships go, and kids, there was these kids that would barely talk to anyone when we started. And by the last night, they're up on stage during the talent show, singing and dancing. And it was just wow, this is cool to watch kids feel that comfortable in that kind of community. And where we went was beautiful. It was hot, but we go whitewater rafting. I know I've talked about that before, and it was a blast. But let me tell you, I feel like I could hibernate for probably 2 weeks, but I don't get to because there's something called parenting when you get home from camp, and there's no breaks, no stop.
If you have kids,
well,
there's something called parenting.
There's always something called parenting.
True.
It just depends if you are in the mix or not. So anyways, yeah. So we're talking about today, what are some post-camp to-dos? You phrased it kind of keeping that camp high going, and not necessarily we know that camp high and we've all felt it, and you can't really recreate that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to try to in this episode, but what we are going to try to do is kind of check off our post-camp checklist of how do we honor what has been done and grab onto any momentum for the future that we can right now. So if you just got back from camp or you're about to go, this is a perfect podcast for you to listen to kind of say, maybe we've never done that, or maybe we've never done some of these in quite that way. So the first one we just did, what's today? We did it yesterday at church. So our campus pastor actually came on the trip with us, and you can do this even if your campus or senior pastor didn't come on your camp with you. So what he did, this was his idea. He did a little recap to the main service, to the adult congregation before church. So he showed a couple of pictures on the main screen, and he just endorsed the heck out of our camp. He got to experience it firsthand, so that really helped. That was a pretty rare instance. I know most of your senior pastors aren't going to come with you, but if you could kind of give them a few sound bites so that they could at least relay it. It does mean something for you to come up on stage. And we've done that in the past, but this year having our campus pastor up there endorsing it was so cool because there was a family, they're like this huge homeschool family, and they've always supported our camps. Like, they're, hey, whatever you need help wise, but they never let their own kids go. And this year, after our campus pastor showed pictures and he talked about camp, and he just talked about it so passionately, and the lives that were changed and the baptisms that happened and this and that. And all of a sudden they are going to sign their kids up because their kids are in high school now. So I missed them in junior high, but they said it was his like testimony of camp that they're like, all right, we think it's time, like hearing like you gush about camp and everything it does, we're going to send our kids. And this is the first time ever, which is cool. Awesome. So that's kind of the first checkbox, is getting your senior pastor, getting your campus pastor, whoever is your direct report, getting them to endorse your camp, give a recap to the congregation, and speak about it passionately, because we all know there's amazing life change that happens. It doesn't always translate to the adults. Sometimes the youth pastor can communicate that really well, but when it comes from the top dog, there was just something about that I think got to some parents who were a little more hesitant to say, oh, this was a cool thing. Like, you're all about this. Right. Maybe I should be all about this.
You're also going to a camp that is 1,500 miles away or something.
It's really far.
So there's an extra added like hesitancy maybe for, it's not like, well, they're an hour down the road or even a couple hours. You're like a day and a half drive away.
Right.
So I can understand.
Don't remind me. I felt really tired when you said
there
that.
And back.
I have like mild PTSD, but hopefully it'll fade and then I'll be able to do it all again next year. I was just so tired.
Hey, you got a year off. Thanks, pandemic.
Woo! Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, just that senior pastor buy-in, huge. Number 2, and this can be done in your youth group or at main church. I do recap videos and I think they're really powerful, but I don't like to do it right away. So and my video guy can't get it done that quick anyways, right? So you let a little bit of time go by, and then you pick a night that you're going to show it at the beginning of youth group. And then you make sure parents know, and you give them a heads up, and you say, hey, you guys can stay. We're going to show it like within the first 10 minutes of our program starting. We'd love to have you watch it. Kind of like a premiere night.
In its entirety, like the whole thing, right? Okay.
But then there's a second version that we cut and edit a little differently, and that's what we use to show in the main service. Okay. And that's another opportunity for the congregation to get a glimpse of what it is. And one of the reasons for that is some of you have a hard time finding camp scholarship funds. And if you make sure adults know exactly what your camp is, they're a lot more likely to give donations for your camp scholarship fund. So on Good Friday every year, we take an offering at our church that goes solely to camp scholarships. So this is a video that you could have in your back pocket to show and say like, hey, this is a little glimpse of what our student ministries pulls off in the summer. If you want to partner with them, you can put a check in the offering, and then you're kind of padded going into camp season. One tip for this particular video is obviously make it shorter than the one you're going to show at your youth group, and highlight the worship and spiritual aspects of camp.
Not the barfing and the belly flops. Although you could add a little bit of that. Maybe not the barfing.
Let's show like what it is in its entirety, but we want moments of speaking, of small groups, of baptism, of worship, because that adults who are not youth ministry minded can get behind that. Right. If they're just like, kids are going out and playing in the lake for a week, who cares? But they need to see the transformation aspect. So have 2 different edits for your video. So you invite parents to come and you show the video. And then one cool thing to note is, I kind of mentioned it in the first one, but have your statistics ready. Like, be ready to tell people, how many kids did you baptize at camp? If you do camp baptisms, how many first-time decisions did you have? Those are numbers that, number one, if you're not recording those, you should be. Right. It's good to keep a record so that at the end of the year, you can look back and share with your team, share with your congregation, share with your direct report, like, hey, this is the ministry that happened this year. You know, we always talk about numbers don't matter, but remember, those numbers are real lives. Like, there were literally 20 real kids that accepted Jesus this year. That's worth celebrating. The angels celebrate. We can too. So, you know, that was so cheesy. The angels celebrate. We can too. That was just such a pastor dork moment.
Well, you nailed it. So you bring up an interesting point, baptisms at camp.
Yeah.
Do you tell the parents ahead of time, like, hey, some of these kids may want to get
that's a really
baptized?
good point. So we have a pre-camp parent meeting. I've talked about that before. And we tell them, we're going to give your student an opportunity to be baptized. That's a conversation you guys will want to have, because there's nothing worse than a super disappointed parent.
Right.
Like, what? I wanted to be there for
Right.
that. And then it's just a simple conversation like, hey, like, just wait till you get home. You know, I want to be there. We want to invite family, that kind of thing. And some parents are like, no, if you're feeling it and God's moving, just do it.
Yeah.
And we make sure we film every single one of those. And I'll get to that in a second. But so that parents obviously still
Right.
have that, not just a picture. Like,
yeah, it's an
a whole
important
thing.
conversation to have, because you wouldn't want
Yeah.
to be on the other side of that and be like, you didn't say anything. And it's one of those things where I don't think any parent necessarily would be mad that their kid got baptized.
No,
Obviously,
it's just the disappointment
just that
of
they're not
missing
there.
it.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's a big thing, and that's
For
important
sure.
for them to see. But yeah, I guess it's just a conversation you have ahead of time.
Right. Because once you're at camp, it's kind of hard to like contact parents. Like,
Right.
I've had to do that in the past. Like, hi, your kid wants to get baptized. Okay, next phone call.
We're in the water right now. All right,
Yeah,
3,
give
2,
me the
1,
go.
do it. Okay, go.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So those are the numbers you want to have. This is how many kids we baptized. This is how many first time decisions. And another thing to add a little oomph to your video recaps is interweaving student testimonials in there. So this is one thing we've done in the past where we've picked a few students who are good on camera and kind of prep them with a couple questions like, hey, what was the highlight of camp? What did God teach you this week? What was the most important thing you walked away with? Something like that.
Yeah.
And add that real face, real story aspect, and you can weave it throughout your footage. I love that. And I think that's a really big sell to people who are like, maybe I will get behind your
Yeah.
camp. Maybe I will support your camp. And for other students to see that too. You know, like we all have those kids that like they're a little hesitant to go to camp for whatever reason. They're just like not there. That was me in junior high. I was just not ready to like, oh, I'm not like going that far away from home and I not want to do this. And what if I don't like the food? And what if I don't like the people I'm with? And there were just so many what ifs. But then, you know, I think when you hear another kid your age talking about just such a cool time they had, and like, that just says something. So this kind of creates, I think part of it too is these recap videos and testimonials and numbers that we're going to just shout from the rooftops when we get back. Also, the idea behind it is like, let's create a little FOMO here, you know, that you missed out on something. Like, we're not just like build, camp happen. And like, okay, we forgot about
Wait till
it
next year.
Yeah, but we create like the residual FOMO, not forever. We're not going to talk about camp for the rest of our lives, but like I would say, you know, like 1, 2, 3 weeks after, like you can be talking about or showing videos or posting to your social media, some recap kind of stuff. I mean, we were talking about it so much this weekend. This little kid, he was so cute. He was brand new. He raised his hand and goes, is whitewater really that fun? You know, it was his first day. So of course he didn't go. He was new, but we were like, yeah, it is. He goes, what is it? And so we were trying to describe it to him.
Glad you asked.
But it does create a little buzz and a stir. And then you think, I want that to be me next year. Speaking of that, the next box I check is I create a picture collage with 9 of my best camp photos. And those go on my wall permanently throughout the year. So we do, and it's not always all the pictures are from camp. I think this year we're going to do all of them from camp. And then kids, they really want to get on the wall. So we print out.
I think we showed this in our youth room design and setup episode.
Okay. So then if you go back to that one, you'll see what it looks like, but it's 9 pictures, 3 rows of 3, like perfectly spaced, really neat, clean.
They're
Photos,
pretty big, like
18 by 18.
I was gonna say, yeah, about 1.5 by 4.5. Or
square,
18 inch by 18 inch.
and they're on gator board. So that's that really lightweight foam board. I would say, I mean, what's comparable to that you could print them out on?
I mean, canvas, or is that way
That
too
would be
expensive?
You could just print them out. I don't know. If you go to a custom place, they'll
put
print
them in
them
a
out
frame.
big. Or you could glue them to poster board and stick them on that way, you know? And so, we picked 9 of our best pictures. We put them on the wall after camp, and those stay up the entire year. And I had one kid at camp, he was telling me the whole time, him and I, like on the way home, we bought this giant pretzel at this weird grocery store, and we took a picture together, like holding it. And he goes, I want to get on the board. I want to get on the wall. This is my photo. This whole week I've been trying to think, like, I need a picture to get on the board. And he was
Put it up there, but crop him out.
Right. Sorry, Nathan. I'll put a little emoji over his face, you know? And it was like, it becomes this thing of like, hey, I want to get on the wall. I want that to be me. And kids stare at that all year round. And, you know, we talk about it and stuff like that. So your picture collage. And then along the lines of pictures, make sure whatever pictures you have accumulated and videos you have accumulated, we talked about showing that on a youth group night, showing the video, but make sure you send that then to parents. So upload your recap to a link, send that out to your parents, and then you could use SmugMug or something like that and upload all your photos and also send that to your parents so that they have access to all that. That just makes parents so excited because, you know, the pictures kids take are like, some of them are good, some of them are not. So we were lucky enough to have a girl with a really nice camera taking pictures for us all week long, tried to get every single kid in there. And I had a mom text me like, can I buy the video and pictures? I'm like, I'll give it to you for free. You just have to wait a second for us to get it all prepared. So that's a really cool souvenir take home thing that parents really love. So that's another one. And then another box to check off is make sure you thank those extra people that need to be thanked. So I'm sure there's people that helped support your camp, whether they drove or cooked or gave financial support, something like that. If there's those people that just stick out in your mind of like, my camp couldn't have happened without this person, or they really made a difference, make sure you go out of your way to thank them. I think sometimes when it's over, we're like, I said thank you, whatever. But if you want people to come back and help you every year or with different tasks, you have to learn to be a really good thinker. So like, we had these 2 dads that came and they served as our medics for the week, and they were busy the entire time.
Nothing major, no major
No,
injuries.
but it was so hot. Like kids were dehydrated and needed electrolytes. We had kids with awful sunburns that were blistering. We had a kid with a splinter in his foot, like all kinds of just weird stuff.
And this goes towards the idea that you need to have a medic there because otherwise that would be you.
Oh my gosh.
The whole time.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. Like if they weren't here, like 75% of my time would be taking care of kids who need like
water, sunscreen.
Yeah. Or like
aloe
we had
vera.
a couple kids barf, not because they were actually sick, but because they
dehydration.
Yeah. And so they were just these compassionate guys. They weren't small group leaders. So they could focus all their attention on that. And I just thought about it. I'm like, you guys took a week off of work each to be here caring for sick kids that weren't your own children. Their own kids were there, but you know, I'm just like, you need a special thanks. So it's like, I'll get them an Amazon card and write a really nice thank you and send it them, a handwritten card or something like that. You know, there are people that stick out in my mind as like, you went above and beyond, you know? So just remember at the end of not just camp, but any event you do or any season of ministry, if people are standing out to you as being someone you could not have done it without, like take the time to thank them. Like that just goes so far in people's desire to come back and just your own reputation. You know, we had a family who let us use their car. So you were there with me. You and I cleaned it and vacuumed it and washed it. I got the oil changed. I filled it up with gas, you know, all those little extra things that make people feel super appreciated. Don't ever return something a wreck
Right.
or gross or dirty or half. And if you break it, buy it. That's the risk in borrowing
Right.
stuff. We peeled some paint off of a hood of that car. So I'm like,
Not on purpose.
No, okay. My kids, my junior hires went to Dollar Tree on the way home and they got these rubber chickens that go, ah, ah. It was like giving me anxiety. I'm like, please stop. So the drivers didn't want them in the van. So what did they do? They taped them to the front of the vans with duct tape as a hood ornament. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, good, they're not in the cars. I went about my business. Well, we get home and they go to take the chickens off the front of the cars and the duct tape peeled the paint off of, let me see, the only vehicle we borrowed from a family. I'm like, thanks a lot. So I'm like dreading having this conversation because I'm like, we're going to have to get your hood repainted.
Yeah.
So any money I saved borrowing your car instead of renting one, well, doesn't matter because now I have to pay for a paint job. So this sucks, but that's the right thing to do.
Paint a mural of a chicken on the hood. Custom paint job.
He would probably love that because I
awesome.
told him, I was like, hey, here's what happened. I told him the rubber chicken story and the duct tape and blah, blah, blah. And he is like crying, laughing. He just thought it was the funniest thing. And I said, so I'm going to return it to you. And then I'm going to get some quotes for some body paint. And he's like, what are you talking about? Don't even worry about it. Who cares? I'm like, are you sure? Oh my gosh. So, I feel embarrassed about that. But isn't that so a junior high camp story though? Like we duct tape a rubber chicken to your van. And that's why the paint is chipping.
And for him to explain that to anybody, hey, why is there a part of your paint missing on your hood? Well, that was a rubber chicken duct taped to the front of my
Why? All you have to do is say junior hires, junior high camp. Anyways, so just make sure you go above and beyond for people who have let you borrow something, driven for you, served as a medic, anything like that. Be a really good thinker.
Yeah, because that will go a long ways. Because there might be something that maybe somebody went to your camp or let you borrow a van and you tape the chicken to it. But if you don't say anything and you don't acknowledge them, there might have been some like underlying stuff like, I was really kind of disappointed that X, Y, and Z happened or whatever. And if there's never any acknowledgement or thank you, that could be like, that's what's going to make me not do that next time.
Right.
Whereas a thank you, or even an I'm sorry can patch over a lot of mistakes.
Right.
And that goes with just people in general, but a situation like that,
Yeah. Some of our teams unfortunately have returned vehicles in terrible condition, just like, oh, I'm too tired, whatever,
right.
And return these cars. Like it should be better than when you left
right.
it, like the Boy Scout thing. So it's like, that's the risk you take in borrowing stuff. So be responsible with it.
Yeah. Cause even if you fill up the gas tank and clean it, you can't get the mileage back.
So they're in the hole no matter what. And that's what I tell them. I said, I know it's a lot of wear and tear on your car, so feel free to say no pressure. I just want to ask you. And they're so generous. So they say yes. So, I always make sure I get their oil changed and stuff like that, which costs money, but it still is less than the cost of a rental vehicle.
Totally.
So what, $100 for an oil change and then wash it, that I'm still saving at least $600. So anyways, and then lastly, this one I'm trying really hard to do this week, but take some time off. So when you get back from camp, you will be, I don't know what condition you come back from camp in. I don't want to project. I'm so tired. I am like
mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted.
Yeah. I maybe cried once. I was so tired. I had one injury and it was 106 the entire time. I had some challenges, blood, sweat, and tears. I would say all were present. And then I come home and, I have to still hit the ground running. But if you can take some time off, one of the best gifts I ever got was from our previous campus pastor. And after camp, it was like, I see you, Kristen. And he got me a pass to a day spa. And I got a massage and had a really good lunch and hung out by the pool for a whole day. And it was on him. It was so nice because it's like, it pushes you to the limit, camp, you're all in for a week. And so make sure you take some time off, some time for yourself, whatever you can at the end of that week. I'm trying to push through today and tomorrow because that's kind of some program stuff and meetings I have to do. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm going to take the rest of the week off. So where do you need to get rest after camp? You've been planning, then you went, and now you have to do some like post camp. I'm sure you still have deposits and things to clean and things to return and contracts to send. There's always a little bit like that, but take a couple days, a week if you can, take one of your vacation weeks and just chill. Hopefully most of it can wait and doesn't need to be done right now. And then get some help. If you want to have someone speak, I had someone speak this Sunday instead of me because I knew I wouldn't want to come back and have to plan a message right away. Plan ahead, have someone ready to speak for you when you get back. Play a really easy game, dodgeball. Here's some balls, the end. That's what we did on Sunday. It was easy. Not even one of my fancy versions of dodgeball from our other episode, but just make it easy on yourself. So that's it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Get some rest.
It's a lot of toll. Like I said, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah.
Everything checks all the boxes.
It does. And
for
it's good.
As high as camp gets, it can also be that much of a
and here's
low
the thing.
Afterwards.
When you're the one in charge, you know what I mean? Like,
because there's never letting any off the gas.
Right. And you have to, maybe you have that person. And we talked about this in the other episode, like that person you can download with.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you had that person on camp, but if not, it can be a little lonely trying to run the whole thing,
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about the question of the day, which may or may not be related to camp because it's all about what is one food that you will not eat. And if your camp food is lame, this would be part of it. No, but what's one food that you're just like, I can't do it, I can't eat it, no matter what?
Well, after camp, beans are going to be traumatic for me. I love beans. I eat a ton of beans, and we have a bean off. And it's like kids eat beans until
baked beans,
they can't anymore for whatever reason. And this kid puked a ton of beans, like projectile. And that was rough.
And on the way out, they look the same as when they go in.
They sure did. It was like he didn't even chew them. But in general, there's only one food at the top of my list for my entire life. Can't do it. Olives.
Any kind of olives.
Any kind of olives. And here's what's weird about the any kind of olive thing. My entire life, my sister, she loves olives. She's like, try the green ones. They're so good. They're so good. They are salty like a pickle. And I'm like, no, they taste exactly like black olives. She's like, no, they don't. They're so good. Fast forward to 2017, I go to Israel and there's a million olive trees everywhere. And they're teaching us about olives. And he said, the green olives and the black olives are the same olive. It's just that the black olive stays on the tree longer. I said, I knew it. I knew they were the same olive because they're both disgusting and they both taste exactly the same. There's a very distinct olive.
But would you say that cucumbers and pickles taste the same? No, but there's the same thing.
We're not talking about that. There's a very specific that you can pick up of an olive. It's deep in the DNA.
And tell everybody what you think they taste like.
Okay, so have you ever smelled a Sharpie? Of course you have. It is the way a Sharpie smells, that's how an olive tastes to me. Just like not quite right, like chemical almost. Just like ugh, like it's a ugh, I don't know. It's just this horrible taste. And then people will be like, oh, just pick them off. No, it always leaves residue. A ring of juice of death on there. It's like satanic. It's disgusting.
How do you really feel?
Okay, that's it.
Mine would be eggs, and specifically scrambled eggs.
I thought it was specifically you freak out with like the sunny side up runny yolky egg.
That's probably, well, I don't think I've even eaten those because they just look like horse snot. Just disgusting looking.
I hate when you say horse snot.
That's what it looks like.
Why horse snot?
I don't know.
It's disgusting.
It's just very runny. When people like start To me, it's like, oh, that wasn't done. Have them go back and do whatever they're
People
supposed
love
to
it.
do.
They're very in right now. People put those fried eggs on everything.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like poached. I don't like scrambled. I can do hard boiled. I can do deviled eggs, but not, I think, any other kind.
Do you like the scrambled jiggly texture? Is
No,
that why?
yeah, like no food should bounce. Like be able to bounce off the table.
I don't think eggs bounce.
I think they bounce. They're like rubbery.
You're being dramatic.
I know, probably true. Hey, we're going to go ahead and read another. This is a little bit from our community. You guys, a review. This came actually from our YouTube channel, which is more of a comment than a review, but I did think it was really cool. This is from Mama Wears Many Hats, which is also a channel. It says, I love the idea of empowering your kids and leaders. It is so true. We use that in our youth group, and it was amazing how much it helped the kids step up. We didn't have much of a team of adults. And then it was so cool to watch them grow up and stay connected as adult leaders. And encouragement is so key. Knowing and caring about who people are and not just what they do is so important. Great content. Well, thank you so much, Mama Wears Many Hats.
I love it.
Cool name, too.
That's so cool. And you know what? I think that'll probably start a new trend. Like she's saying now they serve as adults. I think that's what she said. And those, like, that is now going to continue. Like that'll be their legacy. Like it'll keep, that cycle will keep going.
And when the other kids can see those, hey, they were a student before, now they're a leader. I can be a leader too.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And we would love it if you guys would leave a review on our podcast. Also, make sure you comment below what food you can't stand. And if you just want to put any sort of word of encouragement to the rest of the community or us, we'd appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.